JK invented the dandy look. He actually created that look. That line in 58, 60, was his. It was his. JK went to France to learn tailoring, so did John Wilson. And whether the French influence had something to do with it, but JK always had style. I got on very well with JK because I just thought he was something unique. But he just had presence, and apart from that, he was a damn good tailor. He really was. When you had a pattern of his, when I had the trouser patterns because I had to cut them, you knew it was his. There was just something about it, something about the line. There was a flair. He just had something. I got to Boston because this guy had booked me in. He'd already been, for 20 years he'd been travelling for John Morgan, and he did an 8-week trip. I had 4 kids and a wife, and it wasn't what I wanted to do, and I did like the idea of going to America because that was when everybody wanted to go to America. But when I got there, I was so overawed by it. It's the first time I had to learn how to take measures before I went. Most of them were old customers, so they had patterns, so that wasn't so bad. But I got more new customers, I suppose because I was 40, something like that, and the guy that was travelling was 70. And
so he couldn't relate to the younger audience?
No, he couldn't relate to anybody. I did put myself around because that's I suppose the nature of the job. So we did get a lot more business. When I got to New York, the chairman of Macy's rang me to say that he had just had 5 suits delivered from John Morgan and they were no good, and come and pick them up. And you think, God, that's all you need, isn't it? So I went to see him, and he said, "Do you want to see the suits on?" I said, "Of course," because so he put them on, and I said, "Well, I could get the alteration done in New York." I had an address of someone. I don't know how good he was. I don't really charge me, but it was something ridiculous,
Because he knew you needed
to. And he knew he was chairman of Macy's because he became mayor of New York. So it was. That's the sort of people. So already you're meeting people because he sent his limo to pick me up in this big black car, driving down Manhattan. This is a wide-eyed Willie looking like Jesus Christ. There weren't outriders, but you might as well have been because this is how big the car was. The guy with a big cat driving. He was the mayor's. Well, no, he was just chairman. He was just the chairman's driver. So. When I got home, he'd written to JK to say how wonderful how useful I'd been. I suppose a minimum amount of work, I think 20 orders, 30 orders, something like that. Well, it certainly didn't pay for anything, but what it did pay for was the chairman of Macy's now as a customer again.
How did your relationship and the Kennedy relationship with John Morgan start?
Well,
we believe from the archives that old man Joe Kennedy, when he was ambassador to London, started to visit the house and
yes,
and then introduced his sons. Is that correct?
Yes, that's how it is. Yeah, that's exactly how it was. I can certainly remember in the front shop there was JK and Edward having suits made, and because the outside was armed guards, the whole thing was really, because even then the Kennedy image was so strong. It was Macmillan's influence really with I think the Kennedy with society.
He was a gentleman.
Oh, he's incredible, man, incredible.
Do you remember him well?
Yes, I do. Because the American tailoring commerce was so strong, they didn't want Kennedy having them English clothes.
We've read in the archives these news reports saying, "Oh, he mustn't buy British and must
right.
buy American."
Well, and Radziwill was, the conduit because one of the girls married Radziwill, and so all the stuff went to Radziwill, and he picked it up from there. you know. So it was still still the same suits.
So they're all made by you. So they're still
Yes,
all
oh
made.
yes, oh yeah, still yeah.
One of the things we noticed, because we opened the patterns after 50, well,
Yeah.
since JFK died, and we recut, well, Bob recut the pattern and made a suit from a heritage cloth we had. 'Cause
Oh, right.
there's still cloth from
Oh yeah.
Adam was a boy in the shop, and we noticed when we'd finished the garment that it actually had a really nice line. It was actually quite modern. It didn't look like a Savile Row suit. The shoulder was quite soft, and it was really quite elegant. I mean, there was no vents in the back, the jetted pockets. It was like an Ivy League sort of look. Would that be true?
Well,
as far as styling?
Well, his styling was that, and you knew John's was the same. When you looked at a pattern, and there were two other cutters in the shop, but you knew whose pattern it was because the line was there. It just flowed. Even, I mean, they weren't all 6 foot slim guys. There were some fat old men, and things, but they still look good in their clothes. I mean, they still look good. That's what I think you can tell a good tailor, because if he can make, you know, right. I mean, I watch now on news and I see people and they're interviewing millionaires and they're wearing clothes that's coming off the neck. You think, well, they've got all this money. There are tailors out there that can make clothes that make you look good. You know, don't put on things that don't, because, well, I mean, I do. I just look at people and I notice what they're wearing. You can't help it.
Now, just to jog your memory, these were some of the cloths that we actually found cuttings in his pattern.
Oh, right.
And these are, if you have a look through those, we had them completely recreated, because of course the yarns have changed in 50 years.
Oh God, yeah.
But this is the most famous. We see a lot of photos of him wearing grey. He seemed to love,
he did like grey.
you know, this lighter grey.
Oh gosh. Blimey. Yes, that's why.
And that blue, if you have a look, there's a blue there which is absolutely beautiful, and we've got photos of him in that. Do you remember that sort of look?
Well, see, I suppose it's 40 years ago. I remember all these patterns. I remember this. I feel the feel of this cloth.
We've reproduced it exactly, but that was one of the things. In Savile Row in those days, were using very heavy.
Yes, they were.
These are all extremely light.
Yes.
These are what modern day.
Well,
people
because
wear.
and the thing was, a lot of the tailors were only used to working on 16 ounce, 18 ounce cloth, nothing lighter than that. So when you got a tailor like Phil Barksted, who won the Tailor and Cutter Award more often than anybody else, but I mean, it took him forever to make it, but it was a beautiful garment, and it was
light to touch.
The buttonholes, the twist that you use for the buttonholes, she used to split the twist so it made it finer. That shows you, I mean, that was his wife, was the buttonhole.
Was the finisher.
Yeah, and God, and they used to work so hard that their life was just tailoring.